Yeah, so let's continue this conversation, Marissa, about this unprecedented move. The first time that the subways were shut down entirely overnight. Our crews, in fact, were at the Bowling Green station in Lower Manhattan just a few hours ago when service resumed around 5 o'clock this morning. So we were there for all of that. So joining us this morning is the interim president of the New York City Transit Authority, Sarah Feinberg. So good morning to you. This was a big night for you. I'm sure you had a very long night. Thank you for joining us once again. Let me begin with any unforeseen problems that you experienced with this shutdown.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Well, look, I think certainly lessons learned from last night that we'll take into tonight, and that was our plan, to learn something every day so that we can be increasingly effective and efficient. So numbers just now coming in. I think I might make some tweaks to bus service to make sure that we're serving people even better. But I think that went really well last night. And I want to make sure that, as those individuals who are experiencing homelessness are leaving stations, I'd love to make sure that there is a bus for them to get on so that they can go to shelter. That happened across the city last night, but I'd love for it to be even more seamless so there's no waiting.
You're saying more bus service so they're not as crowded for those who are relying on the buses. And for those homeless folks who were removed from the station, do we have numbers yet on how many were removed? Daily News is reporting somewhere around the 2,000. But where were they removed to? Where'd they go?
So it varies. As we ask folks to leave the station because we're closing the system, we offer them social services. So if they'd like to go to a shelter, we take them to a shelter. If they need medical services, we take them to a hospital, an emergency room. We provide medical services. We have nurses there. We have social workers and outreach workers there to talk them through issues they may be having. And then we've got buses and commuter vans to take them to shelters if they take us up on that offer. So they could end up, and of course they could just decide that they want to go elsewhere on their own. So there are a variety of options for them.
So on the cleaning aspect of it, right, because this has never been done before. You said this, the governor repeated it, right? You had to learn a whole new things about how to clean. Were you able to actually get on board every single train car into every station and properly disinfect, or were there some things you needed to tweak about that as well?
I'm not ready to say that we cleaned 100% of cars that were in service last night. I think we got darn close, and I think we'll be able to do it tonight, but I think we got very close. I just am not ready to guarantee it. I think there were a bunch of cars that we cleaned more than once. So it's a work in progress. We're going to be even more efficient today and more effective today. I have to tell you though, I was in the system for most of the night till about 4 or so, and it's just incredible to see these teams enter trains and really efficiently and effectively go through the train and clean.
I want to talk about the alternative options for people who wanted to sign up, right? The connector service as well. We were getting some people who were tweeting us here at Pix 11 saying that they signed up for that rideshare option and were told to stand by for confirmation, but never actually got that confirmation, and they went back and forth about it. So is that system still being fleshed out right now? And for people who rely on that and need it, what is their option to make sure it's paid for?
Yeah, that's really good feedback. So we'll be continuing to perfect that. I'm not surprised that there were a couple of wrinkles today or last night going into today. And so we need to continue to make sure that we're tweaking that program and improving it. I actually didn't hear any of those complaints myself, but I'll get a more full report this morning. Look, the issue of whether it's paid for or not is not an issue. We are paying for these trips. So if you were a subway rider between the hours of 1 and 5, if you were an essential worker, we've provided an enormous amount of bus service. If that's not going to work for you because it will take you more than an hour and 20 minutes or require 3 or more transfers, we're going to make sure that you have a ride. And so it's not an issue of paying for it. We're paying for it. We're going to make sure you get where you need to go.
Yeah, I think, and by the way, that feedback from our viewers right now about that, I don't think they were complaining. I think they were just looking for a more fleshed out plan here. And that feedback, I think, is absolutely warranted during all of this as patients, and we all work through this one together. But I want to talk about the buses for a second, because now it seems like you're going to be ramping up bus service. You're saying you would like to tweak that as well overnight. So tell me about the cleaning for those buses then, right? So there's so many of them in service, a lot of bus drivers out there on the front lines. How will the cleaning happen for those buses?
Still happening every 24 hours for the buses. We are disinfecting. We're going to be disinfecting and sanitizing the buses every 24 hours. So we're not going to, we're not going to leave them behind in this effort. That's absolutely part of this as well.
New numbers show that actually 100 MTA workers have lost their lives. We talked about this last night during your press conference. So with more buses in service, those bus drivers who are on the front lines during these overnight hours, how are you still maintaining and ensuring their safety? And I'm sorry for the loss of so many.
Well, thank you. And unfortunately, it's more than 100. It's 106 New York City Transit workers, and we're devastated by those numbers. I mean, we are doing everything we possibly can to keep the men and women at New York City Transit safe. We're supplying PPE, personal protective equipment. On buses, we're making sure that the operator is protected by several feet from riders. People are boarding in the back of buses so that they're not passing by that operator as they enter the bus. And we want to make sure that we're doing more too.
Are you limiting how many people can actually get onto a bus? So if say, during overnight service, somebody looks at the bus and says, wow, it's really crowded, I won't be able to maintain 6 feet or what have you, does that bus move on and another one pulls up?
Yeah, that's a great point. So we're not perfect on that yet. We have some room for improvement, but that's where we'd like to be. We monitor very closely crowding complaints. I looked at the crowding complaints that came in, right before I actually walked into this interview, and we've got very, very few. So I think we're doing a pretty good job right now of making sure that we are supplying enough service so that conditions are not crowded. But it's something that we absolutely watch it like a hawk because it's really important.
Right. And I know you have to go to another interview, so I want to ask you this real quick. How long can commuters expect this shutdown? I know we say at the length of the pandemic, but looking past when the pandemic ends, will this disinfecting happen still, or this overnight shutdown? Are you learning some things that it may actually work moving forward?
Oh yeah, look, the goal is to become so effective and efficient, whether it's with enough workers or whether it's with new products, new cleaning solution, new tools, that we can do this quickly, and that when the pandemic is over, we can get back to 24/7 service, and but the system will remain clean and disinfected.
Understood. MTA, New York City Transit Interim President Sarah Feinberg, thank you for your time this morning, and thank you to all the workers who
Great
were
to be
out
with
there last night making sure this gets done for the first time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Good to see you.